Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sheff United Way for another one of our player ratings videos. As you can see, because I've still got a jumper on, have just got back from Bramall Lane from our 0-0 draw at home to QPR. And look, if I'm being honest, these videos are always a bit awkward. I mean, sometimes you're looking at player ratings, it's so sort of subjective. You know, you see what you've watched as part of the game, you see the different movements, but particularly after a 0-0 uninspiring draw at home, shall we say, they make them a little bit more awkward. They make them feel a little bit like they're going here, there and everywhere. I thought overall this was progress for United. I thought from what we've seen in recent weeks, we've conceded 3 goals in a row. 3 goals, 3 games in a row, should that be. And most of those coming in that sort of 10 to 15 minute period just after half time. Going into this game, I thought we did all right first half. We got 0-0 half time. And I immediately texted everybody. I was like, oh, God, how are we going to come back from 2-0 down after 60 minutes? But we rode that storm. And that was progress. I thought mentality-wise, we were better. We seemed to grow in confidence as the game went on. We're just lacking so much in terms of chances and creativity that I thought we deserved to win the game. I thought we were the better team in the game, but we've got to find a way to consistently create chances so that we can score the goals to actually win the game, because that was the thing that was lacking for me today. And, you know, the scoring will reflect that. I thought defensively we were solid. We were so much better than we have been in recent times, but going forward, we really weren't able to create anything of note that would have won the game for us and would have put us in a much better position going into this international break. We go in now 3 points away from safety. Obviously, a huge game in 2 weeks' time when we come back from this 2-week break. But let's focus on that when we get there rather than worrying about it right now. Let's get straight into our system. Let's get into the rating. So, obviously, as always, we'll start in goal. Michael Cooper. I am delighted that Michael Cooper was in goal. I think he's not had the best season, but we've seen the drop-off when sort of the next man up comes in, shall we say, in terms of what happened at Coventry away. And I felt Cooper was looking a lot more like himself today. I think this felt like a proper Michael Cooper performance. He did everything that he had to do with minimal fuss. He wasn't making a meal out of anything. He wasn't called into action loads. I thought the defence did a much better job in terms of protecting him, making sure he didn't have much to do. But what he had to do, he handled really well. There was one, I think it was a corner, that he came out for and flapped at, shall we say. But for the most part, this was just a solid, standard goalkeeper performance. Exactly what you want to see in a game like this. And it got a clean sheet. And so more of that, please. That's all I want. More of that. I've given him a 6 because, again, I didn't think he had loads to do, but he did handle it all with aplomb when he had to. So up next, we move into the defence, and we'll start with the right-back, 𝗤𝗍𝗄 𝗔𝗍. I really liked 𝗔𝗍𝗄. I thought he was the standout player in this one. I think if I was choosing the man of the match, it might have been 𝗔𝗍𝗄 that I plumped for. I've given him a 7. Because in this game, we played an actual right-back for the first time in a long time. You know, Tanganga's been out there, Ben Gibson's been out there, and it's never quite felt right. Whereas as soon as we saw 𝗔𝗍𝗄 in that position, it felt balanced to me today. I thought we had a defence that actually made sense. And as you watched it play, it still felt like it made sense, which was really good to see. In terms of going forward, he was his usual dynamic self. He was constantly trying to drive United forward. He had one run in the second half that was outstanding. It was great footwork to get sort of through that first line. And then he just powered and powered and powered to get himself to the edge of the box. It ended in a really tame shot. But that at least showed some forward impetus. It showed some forward thinking, and I really liked that from him. I thought he was overlapping constantly throughout the day. And so for me, he was the only player who both was solid defensively and tried to really deliver us going forwards. So I thought this felt like a big step forward for us. I thought tactically, this felt like a sensible decision, and I want to see that going forwards. I think that's our back four, and I think 𝗔𝗍𝗄's earned his place back in the team. So obviously, we've talked a little bit about 𝗔𝗍𝗄 there. Well, there's another man who was affected by that change to bring 𝗔𝗍𝗄 in, and that is Japhet Tanganga. And I thought this was his best game for quite a while, if we're being honest with ourselves. I thought he looked calm and controlled when he got the ball. Unfortunately, second half, he was on the left, and he looked much less comfortable receiving the ball. He couldn't sort of take it on and go with his left foot. He was always having to come back on his right. But for the most part, I thought he was calm on the ball, controlled, tried to keep it ticking over. I thought he handled their attack as well, made sure nobody was getting past him, getting the run on him. What we've seen in recent weeks is him being stuck in two minds. Am I a right back? Am I a centre back? He ends up in the middle, and he's a bit caught in no man's land. We didn't see any of that today. He knew exactly where he needed to be, and he knew exactly how to deal with the threats in front of him. There was once or twice in the second half where I thought he did give a bit too much time and space to the attacker. They got a couple of shots off comfortable, one of them in terms of a save for Cooper, the other one drifted just wide. But I'd like to see him stopping the shot in that situation, not giving them quite as much time and space. But it is nitpicking. This was huge steps forward, and there was certainly no comparison to what we've seen in recent weeks. I've got a 6 for Captain Jaff in this one. Next to him to start the game was 𝗵𝗍, and yeah, to be honest, I thought 𝗵𝗍 did all right. I think with the ball at his feet, he was the pick of our defenders in terms of being able to pick those passes over the top. So many times he was trying to get Brooks free down that wing, and he was playing some absolutely beautiful passes in there. They didn't all come off, and sometimes it meant that we were losing possession. But I thought in terms of trying to get us forward quickly, trying not to just be stuck into our passing rhythms, he was the one most likely to break that and to try and get us forwards and turn defence into attack quickly. He did pick up a bit of a knock. I think we saw that towards the end of the first half. He wasn't running quite as freely as maybe as he does normally. And so you can understand why we've made that change, because you don't want to take any risks with him, particularly knowing we've got this 2-week break coming up. Let's get him right. Let's get him comfortable. I thought he did all right. I thought he was steady. I've given him a 6 as well. A good partnership between him and Tanganga, and one that I think in terms of a back four is very solid for us going forwards. However, now, we don't always do subs. I'm not going to go through all the subs today. But obviously, McGuinness has played 45 minutes. And I think that means he's earned himself a rating from me. I think he had enough of an impact on the game to really deserve it. And actually, I'm going to surprise everybody here, because I've been quite critical of McGuinness. I don't think he's been very good at all in his sort of start for Sheffield United. I thought this was by far the best game he's had for us. And I thought actually he might have been the pick of those centre-halves in terms of the impact he was able to have. I thought he snuffed out absolutely everything QPR tried to do in the second half. He won so many big headers. Let's look at that. You know, at the start I said, in recent weeks, we've conceded so many goals, between 45 and 60. We've conceded 2 in that period, just about every game for the last 2 or 3 weeks. But in this one, when they came onto us, and they did have a spell of pressure, particularly between sort of 45 and 55, they were on top of that point. They were trying to come onto us. We did sort of drop back into ourselves a little bit. But every time they tried to put a ball in the box, McGuinness headed it. He must have won 4 or 5 really big headers during that period to just try and calm everybody down, to help us ride out that little bit of a storm. I thought in terms of them trying to turn him over the top, he dealt with that much better today. There's only one situation where I thought he wasn't strong enough and he allowed their attacker to get the advantage on him. Generally speaking, he dealt with whatever came his way. With the ball at his feet, we know that's not his tactic, but I thought he actually was trying to find 𝗍𝗫, trying to get him going down the right-hand side. And so, yeah, I thought he was a big part of why we didn't concede in that second half, particularly in that tricky period just after half-time. I think he was a big sort of leader in terms of letting us ride that storm. And I've gone for a 7 for him, because I thought he was the pick of that bunch of centre-halves. I thought he did a really good job when he came in. I thought it was his best performance for United. A good 45 minutes that I'd like to see him build on if possible. Next to him at left back, McCallum. And you know what? This is another impressive outing from Sam McCallum as far as I'm concerned. I am forever going to be impressed with how high he jumps, with his athleticism, with the way that he drives United forward with the ball at his feet. And look, let's be honest. I'm saying a lot of positive things about Sam McCallum. We all know there are limitations to how good he is. We all know that when you judge footballers objectively, Harrison Burrows is probably the better player, will go on to have the better career, is the person you'd rather sort of trust with the ball at his feet, delivering balls into the box, trying to drive United forward. But he's full of effort. He gives everything he's got. Sam McCallum doesn't stop unless he's absolutely knackered. And he did get tired in this game. But he's exactly what we need for the situation that we are in right now. He gives us energy. He gives us drive. He gives us something to sort of hang your hat on and go, yes, that is somebody giving everything at the moment for the shirt. His long throw caused them loads of problems. His throw seems to cause so much more chaos than anything Jack Robinson ever used to do in terms of getting that into the box. I don't know if it's trajectory, I don't know if it's angle, don't know if maybe we've just got a better tactic for trying to take advantage of it. But either way, that creates a lot more problems. I also think he takes quite a good corner. It always, again, whether it's delivery, angle, whatever the plan is, it seems to be something that we can try to build on. We don't score enough from them, but I think he did pretty well in terms of trying to get us forward with what he's got. Defensively, I thought he had control of his man. I don't think he was beaten that I can remember going down that wing. I don't think we were seeing much in terms of difficulties or challenges. He was stopping the cross. He was blocking it as it was trying to come through. I thought he did tire just before his sub. There was a 2-minute period where everything he did went wrong. I think he took a corner, hit the first man, took a long throw, hit the first man. He tried to do a clearance at the back, hit the man stood in front of him, tried to do a cross, hit the first man. And he did have a sort of 2-minute tricky period. But for the most part, he has continued to justify why he's the first choice right now. I think it's his shirt at left back. And I think he proved that again today. So I've got a 7 for him as well. Thought across the piece, those 5 who played at the back were solid, were good, were so much improved on what we've seen. We didn't really give QPR a sniff, and that was great to see today. So a really strong defensive performance. In front of them, if we go into the midfield, 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗶𝗹. And I found this sort of midfield scoring the hardest place to be because 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗶's good at what he does. I don't think we can deny that. The question I have is what he does good enough? If that makes sense. He's good at it, but is it something we need somebody to be good at? Because if we're only playing 2 in midfield and it's him and 𝗍𝗃, I think we need more athleticism. I think we need more drive forwards. I think we need more sort of impetus coming from midfield where they're going to try and get in the box to get on the end of crosses, where they're going to try with the ball at their feet to beat their man and drive us forward. They're going to be looking for forward passes into the channels. They're going to be trying to create. And Gyro, for me, doesn't really do that. I think we saw a huge difference when Tom Davies came on, for example. He was then trying to play forward. He looked energetic on the ball. He was beating his man 2 or 3 times and got into promising positions. Yes, it petered out, but I thought we saw somebody who wanted to help United score a goal rather than just seeing his place in the team as being trying to be steady with the ball and prevent the opposition. I think he's a really solid defensive midfielder, but I just don't think we're playing a defensive midfielder. I think he screens the defence well, but our defence in the system we played today with the man, sort of the jobs that we had today, I'm just not sure that it was a role that added much to the team, shall we say. But that's not his fault. He's not doing anything wrong with that. I thought as a performance, he did fine. He did everything that we would have asked of him. I'm a little bit worried about his fitness, and he doesn't really seem like a natural runner in terms of being able to get across. And so, yeah, hard to judge. I think it was a really solid performance from him. I don't dislike anything that I've seen from him, but I do think we need a little bit more from our midfield. So I've gone for a 5 for Gyro. Next to him, 𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗃, and similar. It's a similar question. I thought it was better from him today than we've seen in some of the recent weeks, particularly Derby at Bramall Lane. He wanted the ball a bit more. He was trying to break it up in midfield and trying to win it back. He was picking up some of the second balls, which is obviously brilliant to see because it makes a huge difference in terms of being able to build a little bit of pressure the way United were today. But again, this discussion is about what do we need from our midfielders? Is 𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗃 ever going to score? Realistically, he's not. He doesn't shoot or finish with any kind of conviction. Is he going to get assists? He doesn't really play defence splitting passes. He's not sort of a creative man who's going to beat somebody and put you in on goal. And so similarly to 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍, as a pair, I don't know which one of them's going to drive us forward. I thought it was really notable, particularly in the first half, but also a little bit in the second, that if we did get a winger down, particularly Brooks, for example, if he got down the wing or he cut inside either way, if he put a cross into the box, Ings or Campbell have to head it, maybe O'Hare. But that's it. That's all the bodies. We've not got any other options. There are 4 players, which means that we've got a maximum of 3 who are going to be in the box because we know the midfield aren't going to get there and aren't going to be the ones trying to get onto it. And so I'm not sure what this midfield role looks like and whether it's giving us enough for us to be able to really kick on from where we are. Again, as I said with 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍𝗃, that isn't 𝗃's fault. He did what he does as well as he has done all season today. But I said at kickoff that I'd like to see Soumaré and Davies, and I don't think anything I have seen today has really changed my opinion on that. I think we need more energy, more power, more sort of drive coming from midfield. He was solid, didn't do anything wrong, hasn't made any mistakes, but again, similar to 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍𝗃, I've gone for a 5, just because I'm not sure the way that midfield is set up works for us right now. Callum O'Hare next, and I love him. He's been my player of the season, but I thought he was quiet today. I think this changing system that we've made in the last 2 games, Coventry and then QPR, has sort of drowned out his role in our attack and the build-up play. We've got 2 up front now, but it means that he's got less time, less space, less opportunity to play. We're more likely to try and get it out onto, say, Brooks on the wing. I think O'Hare is supposed to be drifting out onto the left wing and playing a little bit in that sort of left-sided role, kind of like what 𝗍𝗻 did last season, but that's not getting the best out of him. I think he still wants the ball. He's still showing for it. He's still got flashes and moments of brilliance, but he's just been so much less involved, I think, particularly today, than he has been in recent games. He was in such a good run of form that does just seem to have petered out a little bit. I still see him as our main man. I still think if we are ever going to sort of create chances, score goals, it's usually going to have to come through him. It's going to come from his boots in one way or another. But it's just not quite clicked for him today. So similar to the others, I think that midfield sort of 3 that we've used, I've gone a 5 across the board. And I just think that's because we didn't get everything we needed from them. As an attacking unit, we need to see a little bit more. In games like today, when we need a goal, we're trying to get forward. The opposition were there for the taking, I felt, and we just didn't take those chances. So yeah, a 5 for O'Hare as well. Moving into who I'm going to refer to as the attacking 3, albeit that Brooks and O'Hare probably have a very similar role. I thought Brooks, I like his partnership with 𝗍𝗍𝗍. I do. I think they work together. I think 𝗍𝗍𝗍's overlapping means that when he cuts inside, there's more space for him to do it. It almost feels natural. Previously this season, what we've seen, we used to play, obviously, with Tanganga at right back and then say Brooks on the wing or 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍 on the ring or whoever it is. Because there's no option of the overlap, the defenders find it easy. They can double up on them. So if they cut inside, they've drowned out the space. There's nowhere to go. To try and take it down the line, again, there's still 2 of them there to stop the cross, stop you being able to take it on. And so actually, that partnership, I thought 𝗍𝗍𝗍's overlapping his sort of desire to get forward meant there was more space and more impact from Brooks. There was one moment first half, I think it was, could have been second, let's not split hairs, where he actually crossed the ball with his right foot. And that is something that I've not seen anywhere near enough from him in his career, not just this season. And that was great to see. I thought it was a fantastic ball across goal. We'll come back to whether or not I felt somebody should have maybe gambled more to be on the end of it, but that's not Brooks's fault. You then think about the change. We took Brooks off, we brought 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍 on. And I think the way that I'm looking at this is Brooks' performance must have been decent because when 𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 came on, it got noticeably worse. I think obviously he was really struggling to get past his man. He was really struggling to create. Whereas with Brooks, it did feel as though there was a bit of dynamism down that right-hand side. There's a limited end product, limited impact. He wasn't creating loads of chances, but I did think he at least showed a bit of something that was more than we've seen previously today. I've gone for a 6 because I thought he offered just a little bit more in terms of that creativity, but it's still not something that I'm hanging my hat on and saying he was brilliant. That makes sense. So then we get to the front 2, and Campbell frustrates me. And it's probably more than anybody else on the pitch, if we were being honest, because he has moments where he flashes what he can do. So we know what he can do from what we saw last season. We know at his best, he's an incisive finisher. He's got great movement in front of the defenders. He can be a real problem for them, and he can run with some speed and pace about him to really create problems for defenders. Today we saw that in flashes. There was one fantastic cross that he put in for that Ings chance in the first half. He harried the defender, he got the ball, he stood his man up, he found the cross. That is exactly what we want to be seeing from our attacker. That's exactly what Campbell needs to be doing in this role. He then had a chance in the second half where he couldn't quite sort his feet out, didn't get the shot off quick enough, but it showed again, he got the movement, he was in behind. Keep doing that and the goals will come with the chances. But also, they're probably the only 2 things he did in 90 minutes. He doesn't look like he wants the ball. There was probably a 20-minute period, second half in particular, where I don't think he really looked interested at all in the game. He was slow, he was ponderous, he wasn't sort of running to get back into position, so he wasn't offside. He wasn't chasing down the defenders to try and force mistakes. He wasn't running after lost causes to, again, try and make something out of nothing. He was just kind of there. And that feeling of him looking completely disinterested really gets on my back, because in this situation we need somebody who's giving everything. And I think the contrast between him and Ings today was huge in terms of chasing down lost causes, pressuring the defenders, really trying to push people into making mistakes. And so it might be a generous score this for Campbell, but I've gone a 5 because of those 2 flashes that could have got United a goal. That cross to Ings could very easily have been the moment that won the game today. That chance where he gets through himself, yes, could he do better, but he still made that movement. So I've got a 5 for the flashes, but he's lucky, I think, that it's not a 4 because of those frustrations around his wider performance and what he's actually contributing to the team right now. I do wonder if he needs a break. Unfortunately, when you think about him having a break, you look at the other options who would come in, and it becomes clear that he's probably not going to have a break, shall we say. Albeit that, although he didn't get on today, I did think that Cannon was better against Coventry and maybe did deserve 10 minutes to try and build on that performance. Who knows? And that brings us on to the next man, and Danny Ings. And again, that contrast. He did all of the running, I thought, today, but then also didn't have those moments of creativity in terms of trying to drive us forward and actually creating something on the ball. I've seen a lot of people online really praising Ings as being the man of the match for this game. And I think maybe if you go to the Blazeman voting, it might be that Ings wins the man of the match in the fan vote. I'm not sure I was there today. He wasn't my man of the match. I thought the defenders were the standout performers. I thought 𝗍𝗫𝗍, as I say, was the one who I'm most connected with in terms of his performance. But he put himself about. He was more involved than he's probably been in any game for United this season. And he's done 90 minutes. That's huge in terms of his fitness and what he's contributing to the team. He had one massive chance in the first half. The keeper's made a brilliant save. Could he have scored? Potentially. But he's got himself into the right position. And the movement, if you go back and watch the chance, the movement he does to get in between those two defenders and really force that chance to get on the end of Campbell's cross is fantastic. And that kind of incisiveness might be the difference between us nicking games and us drawing 0-0. And maybe with Matt's sharpness, with Matt's fitness, he does take those chances. His pressing energy was great to see and really was what we wanted from our attackers today, to try and force those mistakes, because they were there for the taking, QPR, and Ings was really trying to force the issue on that, which was good to see. But with the ball, I just didn't really see enough. Maybe I'm being picky, maybe I've missed something in my watching of the game, but I thought first half in particular was really uninvolved, other than that one big chance. It was sort of bouncing off him, his first touch wasn't quite there. I just felt as though as well, there was this moment where I talked about it before, Brooks flashed right across the face of goal. We've got two strikers and neither of them are gambling on a cross whipped across goal on the edge of the 6-yard box. And to me, that's exactly where Ings should be. That's exactly what I want to see from him. It's the movement to anticipate where those balls are going to go. And with numerous crosses bouncing around and bobbling in the box, he was never in the right position to be on the end or to capitalise from them. He did enough to say he was the pick of our attackers. He did enough for me to say he should start our next game. And certainly I'm looking forward to seeing him get more match fitness and more involved. But I didn't think he was my man of the match. I've given him a 6. And I do think that there was a lot of positives there, but I just didn't quite see enough to go any further than that. Obviously, do feel free to disagree with me in the comments. I'm sure plenty of people will. That then brings me on to the manager. And actually, I thought of an interesting way of doing it today, because if you take all of the scores I've put together for the starting, 12, because I've included McGuinness, the average score for the team is a 6. And I think that's probably fair to go for the manager as well, because the performance felt better today. He set us up in a system that made sense. There were round pegs playing in round holes, and we were the better team on the day. I thought the subs were a mixed bag. Some of them had a really positive impact, such as 𝗍𝗿𝗍 coming in. Some of them didn't have a positive impact, such as Benny coming on. And that's not all his fault, because he's only got the options that are available to us. The squad is not that good. It's not that deep. And so I'm not going to sort of take marks away for that. I did think, though, there was a lack of urgency after the subs. And I think that possibly is to do with messaging, to do with the way that we were trying to play, in that we weren't going at QPR. We were taking an extra touch. We were passing it a little bit around the defence. I thought we could have shown a little bit more endeavour to really go on and win that game, rather than kind of sitting into the draw. I think in terms of going forwards, we've really struggled to create chances and score goals today. And I think part of that is that we don't have a discernible style still yet. I still don't know what the consistent way of Sheffield United creating chances and scoring goals looks like. I don't know what the plan is to really go on and overwhelm teams. However, we were the better team. On another day, we win that game 1-0, deservedly so. And I think Wilder deserves credit for setting up as a performance that is so much improved from what we've seen in recent weeks. It's better, and we should celebrate that. I've gone for a 6, just above average, and hopefully the signs of positive things going forwards. So, yes, they were my ratings. Give me yours in the comments. Tell me where you think I'm wrong and I'm an idiot. Tell me where you think I'm right and I'm a genius. I prefer the genius ones, but I will take either. Let me know what you think. And in the grand scheme, it's another point on the board. We're now within 3 points of safety, albeit because of our goal difference, it's more like 4 points. But we go into an international break, not cut adrift. We're still within touching distance, and it is a huge 2 weeks on the training ground to get as much as we can out of this squad and get them ready for a relatively big game, shall we say, after the international break. We need a big reaction. After the last international break, we bounced back with 2 straight victories. If we can do that again, everybody will be feeling so much more positive in terms of where we can get to this season, and that we can get us out of the mess that we're currently sat in. We need to improve the mood, and let's hope that this international break gives us the chance to do that. We'll see you soon, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of content coming your way ahead of the next game, which I'm not thinking about, and I'm not dreading, and I'm not scared. You're scared. Grow up. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Up the Blades. 𝗚𝗿𝗲𝗚𝗍𝗍𝗍